What would happen if we replaced the sun with Betelgeuse? The sun goes out, the sky turns blood red, and Earth is instantly swallowed whole. Betelgeuse is 700 times larger than the sun. If it took the sun's place, Earth would be engulfed in its fiery hell from the very first second. You could fit over 1 million Earths inside our sun, but you could fit over 1 billion suns inside the giant star named Betelgeuse. This Betelgeuse is a massive, unstable red supergiant, rapidly approaching the final stages of its nuclear fusion cycle before it explodes into an incredibly violent supernova. If Betelgeuse replaced the sun, it would swallow half of the solar system. And that's before it goes supernova. Could you survive? We know it lies within our galaxy, and we estimate it is between 550 to 700 light years away from Earth. We also don't know exactly how big and how massive this giant star really is. That's because it's a constantly fluctuating. It's over 1 billion kilometers wide. What we do know is that it's bright, hot, young, and ready to explode. Chaotic mass that's so bright that our telescopes can't observe it with precision. That means it's about to go supernova in the next 100,000 years. It could happen in 10 years, 10,000 years, or even tomorrow. It could happen at any moment. So, what would happen if it exploded? Well, it would be one of the most anticipated astronomical events in history. Scientists have been closely monitoring it because, recently, Betelgeuse has been showing some strange behavior. I mean, Betelgeuse has always been a little odd because it's so close and so big. It's one of the most studied stars in the sky, and we know it's a highly volatile star. We're talking about shock waves and hotspots created by giant bubbles inside. This is not a normal star. This is a brutal lesson about the finiteness of matter. An entity with 20 times the mass of the sun is writhing in its last breaths. It possesses a brutal size, enough to swallow 1.2 billion suns into its fiery gullet. If this killer entered the center of the solar system, with its massive body stretching up to 4.6 astronomical units, it would instantly wipe out all planets from Mercury to Jupiter's orbit. The surface of Betelgeuse is a chaotic hell beyond imagination. Huge convection cells are boiling, creating internal thermal bubbles larger than Earth's orbit. They constantly burst, sending intense shock waves that rattle the space around it. This star does not stand still. It beats like a sick heart, stretching and contracting erratically. The surface temperature, although at 3,200 degrees Celsius, creates a deadly red hue, signaling a nuclear reactor nearing its breaking point. The true horror begins when this entity starts its self-destruction process from within. Betelgeuse has depleted its hydrogen fuel and is desperately burning helium, carbon, and neon to maintain a false existence. In 2019, the world witnessed the haunting Great Dimming phenomenon, a plasma explosion, 400 billion times more powerful than typical eruptions, was expelled into space. This outburst blocked 2/3 of the star's brightness, creating a shadowy ghost in the night sky. Ancient Greek astronomers once saw a faint yellowish spot, but now the human eye only sees a fierce red color at a distance of 700 light years. Betelgeuse stands there, lurking and blazing, ready to explode at any moment to end the greatest lesson of destruction in the Milky Way. Like and subscribe immediately to avoid missing the most brutal lessons about the universe's inevitable doom. The giant, super bright star in our sky suddenly dimmed, leaving only 1/3 of its usual brightness. Scientists finally discovered the cause. It had blown a massive amount of seething plasma into space. The mass of that plasma was 400 billion times larger than the plasma particles emitted by our sun. As the dust cooled, Betelgeuse obscured so much of its own light that we could barely see the star anymore. So, Betelgeuse is ready to explode. And what happens when it does? Well, if such a star were to explode tomorrow, it would light up our night sky. Even at such a distance, it would shine like a full moon and could even be seen during the day. Betelgeuse is so massive and red because it has burned through all its hydrogen, which means it's now burning helium and possibly even carbon. And once stars start doing this, they also begin synthesizing heavier elements like neon and iron. When Betelgeuse's core becomes filled with iron, nuclear fusion will stop. The core will cool, and gravity will crush the star. The core will collapse, and the rest of the star will fall inward toward the exploding core. In an instant, all the star's material will collide with the super hot core and be blasted outward, creating a massive shockwave, and boom, the supernova will explode. When Betelgeuse goes supernova, its scale will be almost unimaginable. It will make everything on our tiny blue planet seem insignificant. Imagine Betelgeuse suddenly taking the central position of our solar system. The instant disappearance of the inner planets is the first chapter of this disaster. Earth would have no orbit to function, as it would be trapped and entirely within the massive star's core. Mercury and Venus would be wiped off the astronomical map due to their proximity to the heat source. Even Mars wouldn't escape its fate, lying deep within the occupied range of 3.6 to 4.6 astronomical units of this entity. The solar system, once home to 8 planets, would be violently reduced to just 4 or 3 dying remnants. Jupiter would become a hot Jupiter, subjected to temperatures in the thousands of degrees. Its hydrogen and helium atmosphere would be drained to fuel Betelgeuse, while its icy moons would melt away without a trace. At Saturn, its majestic ice rings would be blown away and vaporized by the intense solar wind. The chaos would reach its peak with the appearance of the Alpha Ori, also known as Betel Buddy. Betelgeuse doesn't invade alone. It brings with it a companion star roughly the size of our Sun. This entity orbits Betelgeuse at a distance of 4 astronomical units. The gravitational structure of the solar system would be torn apart, turning any former order into a chaotic, aimless mess. With Betelgeuse's brightness being 100,000 times greater than the Sun, the survival boundary would be pushed out to 316 astronomical units. Icy objects in the Kuiper Belt, like Pluto, would suddenly feel the scorching heat. Life would have no chance of forming or evolving in this new zone. Because Betelgeuse is nearing the moment it will explode into a supernova, the universe has just revealed a grim truth that has left observers stunned about the true identity of a hidden entity. This being is scientifically known as Alpha Ori, or by the misleading name Betel Buddy. It is a young star with a blazing blue-white color, 1.5 times the mass of the Sun. For a long time, its presence was completely concealed by the blinding light and the domineering size of Betelgeuse. Scientists, led by Jared Goldberg, only recently identified this object, revealing an incredibly vast spatial occupation that completely overshadowed a star of comparable size to the Sun. Betel Buddy maintains an orbit around Betelgeuse at a distance of 4 astronomical units. Despite its status as a primary star, when positioned next to the red giant, Betel Buddy appears as a tiny, weak dot. This size disparity creates an unstable gravitational structure, where the smaller entity is trapped in the deadly influence of the larger one. This threat will become a harsh reality if this entire binary system were to replace the Sun's position. With an orbital distance of 4 astronomical units, Betel Buddy would directly invade and crush Saturn's operational zone. The sudden appearance of a star 1.5 times the mass of the Sun at the outer edges would create terrifying gravitational disturbances. Saturn would face the risk of direct collision or being ejected from the system by the tremendous pull from the new star. humanity would witness the permanent disappearance of this magnificent ringed planet in a decisive destruction scenario. However, the most horrifying aspect is the impending supernova explosion. Betelgeuse is predicted to explode within the next 100,000 years, or possibly even tomorrow. This explosion would release more energy than the entire sun has emitted during its 10 billion year lifespan. If this explosion occurs at a distance of 600 light years, Earth would see a light as bright as a full moon, even in the daytime. But if the distance were reduced to just 50 light years, a mass extinction event would be unavoidable. The ozone layer would be completely destroyed, leaving Earth vulnerable to UV radiation that would scorch the entire food chain. All life would be eradicated by the destructive power of this supernova.